So it's finally that time. It is finally that time to discuss who the frontrunners of this Academy Awards season are going to be. I'm sorry that I've been very distant from this Academy Awards season. For several reasons, obviously, I didn't know how to cover it. It kind of uproots everything that we've known about the Oscars and everything I've studied about the Oscars to learn these kinds of patterns, with release dates and what releasing on streaming means versus releasing in theaters. Plus, I've kind of been all over the place this year. I've obviously moved. I'm in a brand new apartment, and I've been working on leasing stuff and getting everything out here. So I apologize that I've been all over the place over the course of this award season, but I'm ready to buckle down now and finally figure out what's going on, because I think I'm starting to recognize the patterns that we need to be following. I did a video a while back about how this was Netflix's year at the Academy Awards. Truth be told, it's a lot of streaming services' years. This is the opportunity for a lot of these production companies to arise as genuine contenders in all of these major categories. So I'm going to be talking about the big six, and I want to be talking about what the frontrunners in each of those categories are right now, because a lot of those frontrunners have changed pretty drastically from early seasons. Something like Mank was a huge early frontrunner in picture, director, screenwriter, actor. Has that kept up? Not really, and we're going to kind of talk about why and delve into why we can see that that's a major possibility of that film being upset in all of those categories it was supposed to win in very early in the season. Obviously, the Oscars and its campaigning is an ever-changing thing, so we're going to get a little bit into, kind of why certain websites, certain mediums like Gold Derby have people at their top of the list, and whether I personally think those are the people that have the best chance of winning the Academy Award. So starting with Best Picture, I'm actually going to use Best Picture to talk about picture, director, and actress. I've been pretty decent at predicting the Academy Awards over the last 5 years now that I've done this, but the one category that I have yet to get right is Best Picture. I can't get it right for my fucking life. I went with The Revenant over Spotlight. I went with La La Land over Moonlight. I went with Three Billboards over The Shape of Water. I went with Roma. I went with 1917. I have been wrong time and time a fucking again. But if I am wrong this year, of all particular years, if I am wrong, I'm quitting. The idea of Nomadland not winning Best Picture would be an astounding one to anybody who watches movies or knows really kind of anything about movies. This is not a film that I've seen. It's not a film that I'm able to see yet. I'm waiting to be able to see this movie. They just talked about the fact that it's going to be on Hulu, which is awesome. I'm going to be able to watch it. Most theaters around me in Boston are not open right now, so I haven't been able to see movies the way that I want to see movies. But this is one that I really don't think I have to see to make this prediction. At the end of the day, you have this film which has swept everything. And, it's taken precursors that 5 years ago people wouldn't have cared about. Like the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival really didn't used to be that big of a deal pre-Shape of Water. A lot of movies won the Golden Lion that didn't really wind up having much Oscar success. But starting with The Shape of Water, following that, you saw Roma, you saw Joker, and now you've seen Nomadland, and those are clearly three films that were very successful at the Oscars. Shape of Water running away with picture and director, Roma running away with director and cinematography, and Alfonso Cuarón won about 4 Academy Awards for that. You had Joker, which picked up a Best Leading Actor Oscar for Joaquin Phoenix, so this award is clearly something to pay attention to now. And with Nomadland picking it up and also winning the Toronto Film Festival, which in its history has kind of consistently been a good precursor to the Oscars, at least with a Best Picture nomination, and most recently with Jojo Rabbit, which, that TIFF win kind of cemented a Best Picture nomination. I personally didn't think it was going to win anything, but it wound up taking Best Adapted Screenplay for Taika Waititi. So, winning Venice and TIFF in and of itself is huge. Not only to mention the fact that it swept almost every other film festival that it has partaken in, and the critical acclaim for this film is unlike any other that is released this year, though upon its original release, Mank was close, but not like this. Nothing has been like this other than maybe Minari, but that was so long ago that I think that it's lost a lot of steam as a result. I still think it'll be at the Oscars, but I think it's lost a lot of steam in its contention to win something like Best Picture. On top of that, the most recent controversy within the Academy Awards is a lack of female director nominees and a lack of nominees in the Best Picture category that are directed by females. I don't like talking about politics when it comes to predicting the Oscars because it makes it seem like the only reason I'm saying something is going to win is a political reason. I'm not saying Nomadland should only win because it's directed by a female. Am I saying that helps its chances? Most certainly. It also helps Chloe Zhao's chances in Best Director heavily, especially considering she's a relatively new face in Hollywood. And it would look really good for the Academy Awards to award a very new female voice in the Academy, in Hollywood with an Oscar. People have been making arguments about Regina King running away with it. I think the fact that she's already gotten her Oscar is a big thing. Plus, I do think she's going to wind up with a nomination, and I think that in of itself is going to be a win. And then you have Frances McDormand, who is campaigning for that third Academy Award, made a big point in her speech to talk about inclusion riders, and I think, her gunning for a third Oscar. A third Oscar is a big deal. Very few actors have attained 3 Oscars. You've got Hepburn, you've got Daniel Day-Lewis, I think Jack Nicholson has 3. And he might not even. He might have 2. I know he's got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and As Good as It Gets, but he might not even have a third. So it's, or maybe he does for Terms of Endearment, whatever. The point is, really only the best of the best wind up running away with those 3. And Frances McDormand is certainly on that list, and I think that campaign is really going to help her. I think all 3 of those categories are big runaways. I know people are talking about Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I don't think that's going to happen, and I will let that lead into leading actor. Because at the end of the day, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is really ultimately a performance showcase. The more I think about that movie, the more I realize that fact. And the more I'm realizing that both of these August Wilson adaptations have really been... The purpose of that is to, showcase the performances and fences of Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, which was a fascinating one because obviously they had already campaigned for Tonys and had picked up Tonys for that performance on Broadway. But with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, this is the first on-screen adaptation with this cast, and you have 2 really strong performers, Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman. Early in the season, I would have said Gary Oldman run away. 100%. The Oscars are looking to redeem themselves for having one of the best actors of our time go so long in his career with not only not an Oscar nomination, but not an Oscar win until Darkest Hour in 2017. And then I saw Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I saw Mank. The biggest thing about Mank is that I think Oldman's performance is too similar to what Darkest Hour was. It's not versatile enough in comparison to what he did with Darkest Hour. Physically, it's very similar. In terms of dialect, it's very similar. Persona and character-wise, it's very similar. That's not to denote from the performance at all, but I don't think the Oscars will want to award a performance so similar like that within such a close time frame. And then I watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I firmly believe that even if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, this is his Oscar to lose. I don't think it's going to be like a posthumous handout, like some people are probably saying it's going to be. This is a well-deserving, excellent performance, and it's also important to remember other things about this, right? The Oscars like underdogs. You're looking at somebody who widely was known as a Marvel star, an action star. To those of us who are a little bit more well-versed in our film education, we know that he was Jackie Robinson, right? He was James Brown. He was Thurgood Marshall. The problem with those 3 movies is, 1, they weren't phenomenal, even if he's very, very good in each. And 2, they weren't campaigned very heavily because their reception to critics was ultimately mediocre, kind of at best. I think the only one of those 3 that even picked up any nominations for anything was Marshall for that song, because the fucking pool of nominations for that category is just so vast. But to a general film consumer, Chadwick Boseman was Black Panther, and you see this Marvel star transition over to a film like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and put on an absolutely show-stealing performance, by the way. You've got, a very young actor who comes and sweeps the rug out from under Viola Davis, who is an Academy Award-winning actress and one of the most well-respected actresses in this industry at the moment. You have a perfect fastball for an Academy Award win, because he does steal the show. Every time he is on screen, it is his movie, and that is extremely important for a leading actor performance. I think it's going to be really touching when he wins. I think it's going to be a huge moment. I don't have a singular doubt in my mind that Chadwick Boseman is going to lose this Oscar. People have talked about Delroy Lindo since Da 5 Bloods came out. He had the career Oscar going for him in that, he's been a very well-respected and strong actor for a very long time who has just kind of never had the setup or campaign to win an Academy Award. He's going to be nominated. It's going to be an awesome nomination. He put on a terrific performance. No one is coming close to Chadwick Boseman. This much I can promise you. Supporting actress, for me, is a little tough because I think this category might be the biggest toss-up, actually. I think this one might be the hardest one to call. And it looks, pretty even on something like Gold Derby. They don't have a super huge runaway. Olivia Colman has the lead right now, and I would have been more confident in that, actually, had Hillbilly Elegy been more successful, because I think Olivia Colman and Glenn Close going head-to-head would have been somewhat beneficial to both of them, considering it's another bout. Maybe it would have been more beneficial to Glenn Close, because like I said in my past video about, Colin Firth and Jeff Bridges, and how they went back and forth for True Grit and The King's Speech. And it wasn't True Grit that won Jeff Bridges, it was Crazy Heart. But, that movie got thrashed, and I think that lost Glenn Close and Amy Adams both of their nominations, because it's just so bad that I don't even think they're going to give really any attention to that movie. I haven't even fucking seen it. So they have Olivia Colman running the show right now. It's difficult for me to say because I haven't seen that movie, and I'm not going to be able to see it for a little bit. They just talked about the fact that it's going to be coming to on demand, which is good. That was the one movie I was really nervous about being able to see. But it's tough to say because Amanda Seyfried kind of has the lineup going for her, right? She's an actress who has really kind of starred in shit her whole career. She's just starred in shit. And none of it would be Oscar campaign worthy, none of it's even like Oscar baity. The only thing that has had success at the Oscars that she was in was Les Mis, and she certainly didn't have a supporting actress campaigning chance against Anne Hathaway, who was the runaway for that category that year, tenfold. So this is like her first chance, and she's really, really good. She puts on a wonderful performance as Marianne Davies, especially as somebody who's seen the work of Marianne Davies. I think she's excellent, and the Oscars love it when someone who's not really known for doing anything that worthwhile comes out of the woodworks and puts on an excellent performance, especially in something like a David Fincher film, who does nothing but direct phenomenal performances. He hasn't directed an Oscar-winning performance, I don't think ever. I don't think Fincher has ever directed an Oscar-winning performance, and this would be a really, really cool one to be his first. This reminds me a lot of a Matthew McConaughey from Dallas Buyers Club, who, again, for his entire career was the romantic comedy guy and was the funny guy and the stoner guy, and all of a sudden, in 2013, or, he had started earlier, I guess, with Mud. He had kind of proven himself a little bit, but then he hits us with this performance in Dallas Buyers Club, and he's going toe-to-toe with someone like Leonardo DiCaprio. And who are the Oscars going to pick? Someone they know can put on a great performance, or someone that, holy shit, who would have thought that would come from this guy? I don't think it's that drastic when it comes to Amanda Seyfried, but I think that that's definitely going to be a player. And if I had to lean somewhere right now, I would lean her. She's a very dynamic performance to Gary Oldman, and she's not in a whole ton, but when she's there, she's very complimentary to the entire style of the film, and I think she puts on an excellent and very necessary performance to that movie. The other discussion right now is Ellen Burstyn for Pieces of a Woman. That's an interesting one to me because, it's possible that the Oscars would be wanting to redeem a potential mistake that they made 20 years ago in 2000 with giving Julia Roberts the Oscar for Erin Brockovich over Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream. The only area that I think I could dispute that is that Ellen Burstyn already had an Oscar, and Julia Roberts at that point in time was, like I was saying, this very up-and-coming name people didn't know, and all of a sudden she was in fucking everything, and she was the person that you wanted to hand an Academy Award to, whereas Ellen Burstyn was somebody who was already very well seasoned and had that Oscar. Is that something that I could see happening where Ellen Burstyn picks it up because of this kind of redeeming type quality? Maybe. But I really see Amanda Seyfried with this one, but it's a category that I'd like to see hit the Golden Globes, hit the SAGs, see where we get nominations. People have been talking about a big upset from Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film. I personally think that a nomination for her is going to be like a win. I think she, again, is a brand new actress who gives Sacha Baron Cohen a run for his money in that film. And I think just being nominated is like a win for that. It's rare to see first-time performers like that come into the scene and pick up the actual Oscar. Usually a win or a nomination is like a win. It reminds me a lot of Barkhad Abdi for Captain Phillips, who probably went in there, knowing nobody, had no idea what the hell was going on, and was just sitting there and was probably fucking thrilled just to be nominated. I think that's going to be a very similar thing with Maria Bakalova. I don't think against the performances she's up against she's going to win, but I think her being nominated is going to be awesome, and that's a very well-deserved nomination. I'm really happy that's getting some attention more than just general film audiences. And then supporting actor is also a unique and interesting one. I had to watch One Night in Miami to really feel confident in calling Leslie Odom Jr. for this, but I still don't feel 100% on him, but I think he's got a very good chance. I think the reason being is that, you've got potentially like 3 people from the trial of the Chicago 7 that could fill this category. It's not, that's not for sure, but Sacha Baron Cohen is a very good bet. People are hedging a lot of money on Mark Rylance. You also have Yahya Abdul-Mateen. You also have Frank Langella, who I think could be a sleeper hit in terms of a nomination. So I think it's a decent bet to say that 3 of those guys might fill that category. But I don't think anybody is that confident one of them is going to win. If any of them will, it's Sacha Baron Cohen. But people feel that they're all pretty even on a performance scale, and they're all campaigning and supporting, which is a big deal because you can't really argue that like one of them runs the show if they're all campaigning in that supporting category. Whereas with Leslie Odom Jr., you have him campaigning and supporting with Aldous Hodge, and the other 2 are campaigning and leading. And Leslie Odom Jr. is certainly better than Aldous Hodge is in One Night in Miami. As great as a performance as Hodge puts on, Leslie Odom Jr. certainly would take that category, I think, for anybody, over the 2 of them. And I think that clear indication of, well, one is better than the other in this movie, but in Trial of the Chicago 7, I think they're all equal. I can't give it to one of them. They're all fantastic, so I'll go with Leslie Odom Jr. Plus, Leslie Odom Jr. has the EGOT campaign going for him. Now, if he wins the Oscar, he doesn't have the EGOT, he needs the Emmy. But he could do that. On top of that, he's not inherently known for being a film actor. Prior to Hamilton's run on Broadway, if you look at Leslie Odom Jr.'s IMDb filmography, it's pretty bare. It's mainly sole episodes of television shows every so often, and since Hamilton's Broadway run, he's appeared in a lot more film work. And I think that's going to be a big thing, is, oh wow, this guy's new to film, he hasn't acted on screen much, and this is a really, really excellent supporting performance. And it is. Nobody should be denoting that. It's a fantastic performance that Leslie Odom Jr. puts on, very well directed out of Regina King. She's clearly a really good director of actors. The only crazy thing I could really see happening in this category, there is a chance, that maybe they'll go with Sacha Baron Cohen. Maybe I'm incorrect on this and the way that people are viewing this film. The way I see it is that people are seeing those performances as being on an even keel, whereas Leslie Odom Jr. is like better than somebody else, if you know what I mean. But what I could see being crazy is people don't see it that way. They see the 3 from the Trial of the Chicago 7 being even. They see the 2 from One Night in Miami being even. Votes get really split, and that opens the door for Paul Raci from Sound of Metal to pull a Mark Rylance. I watch Sound of Metal, and I very much see a Mark Rylance type Bridge of Spies performance that could sneak up completely out of nowhere and win that Academy Award for him, partially as a result of split votes, partially, again, also not a huge film actor, not somebody who's been in a ton of movies before. He's kind of out of the woodworks. He's obviously been in films before, but to a wide stream audience, he's a relatively new face. And it's a great performance, it's a great character, it's a dynamic performance to the lead actor, which the Academy loves either those performances that mesh together and form like a cohesive type of performance, which he does with Riz Ahmed, or they prefer a complete standout performance. In my opinion, with the people campaigning right now, none of them are incredibly like standout. None of them scream J.K. Simmons Whiplash. I think Leslie Odom Jr. fits in extremely well with the main four cast of One Night in Miami, and the Trial of the Chicago 7 supporting cast all fit in terrifically with one another. I don't think you have a super standout performance like a J.K. Simmons this year. So I think this race is actually going to be really interesting, and I think it's one to keep your eye on, and I think it could be another one like Mahershala Ali's year where Dev Patel won the BAFTA and like Aaron Taylor Johnson won the Golden Globe, I think, and Mahershala won the SAG, and it could kind of be split all over the place, and it could be a really interesting year and a really interesting campaign. In the area of screenplay, and I'm surprised I didn't talk about this earlier with Picture, I think I just kind of forgot, but adapted screenplay I think is another runaway for Chloe Zhao. I think she's gonna have a fucking night. I think she's going to get up there to get her screenplay Oscar. She's going to have to get up again to get her director Oscar. And she's going to have to get up one more time for that picture Oscar. She's going to have an Alfonso Cuarón type night, and it's going to be awesome. She is a clearly brilliant new voice in Hollywood. People love the writer, and people love this movie, and it's going to be amazing to see what she crafts next, especially as a director-screenwriter. I really, honest to God, think all four of her categories are categories to lose, and in four I include Frances McDormand in there. We'll see, again, how this goes, but I'd be shocked in that regard. Original screenplay, I think, is a good bet for Sorkin, predominantly because the Oscars are used to nominating him in the adapted screenplay category. And though it's a weird campaign for an original screenplay nomination, though it technically is, I think they might respect that. Oh wow, he did an original one. He didn't just take a book and rewrite the book, even though he's really fucking good at that. But he has that going for him, on top of the fact that critics loved this movie, man. Critics loved this movie. If anything, maybe Mank could sneak up for a posthumous win for Jack Fincher. I don't really think so. Sorkin hasn't received an Academy Award in 10 years, and he's actually been snubbed a lot recently. He picked up a nomination for Moneyball, lost out on one for Steve Jobs after winning the Golden Globe for a screenplay for Steve Jobs, was nominated for Molly's Game, but that movie was left out everywhere else. I think this movie has the campaign going for it with Netflix behind it, with all the performances going. The movie's making a lot of noise, and I think just enough noise where if it doesn't win anything else, screenplay is a really good place to put it for a win, and I think Sorkin might run away with this one again. That's it, man. Those are the big six. I'm going to keep making videos about this. I'm going to make updated videos as things go on. I'm going to try and do something for the technical awards as more becomes clear to me as those go on. Going to be doing some film reviews as I watch more of these movies as they come out. I promise I'm getting back on track. I'm genuinely settled in now. I'm moved in. I'm here and I'm good and I'm back and I'm ready to do this. I'm really, really excited for this Oscar season. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for sticking around. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, if you agreed with me, if you think I'm a moron. I want to know what you guys think in terms of these front runners and how these races are going to swing. So let me know what you thought. Subscribe, leave a comment, all that good shit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you all next time.